Right now, we are nearly a week into the King Soopers strike. Since it began last Thursday, both sides have traded jabs and accusations. The union president says the strike is about unfair labor practices, a claim the company denies. Now we've learned King Soopers has filed a federal lawsuit against its workers' union, accusing it of forcing the company to bargain with labor unions that are outside of Colorado. The company says the union is serving outside interests, not negotiating good faith for its Colorado members. So joining me this morning to discuss how this lawsuit could impact the strike is our 90s legal expert, Whitney Traylor. Thanks for coming in.
Sure thing. The saga continues.
Truly.
Yeah.
All right. So what is this lawsuit all about?
Right. So this lawsuit, kind of as you said in the intro, King Soopers is saying we have a collective bargaining agreement with UFCW Local number 7. That's who we should be negotiating with. That's what contract expired. But they're alleging that they've brought in these other unions from California, Washington, and they're trying to coerce and sort of threaten them to make certain concessions. And so here they're saying, look, we should only have to bargain with you, not these other sort of non-union members. And so they're saying this is a violation of a federal statute, the National Labor Relations Act.
So what impact do you think this is going to have on negotiations?
Well, you know, litigation is always a tactic when you're trying to reach a settlement. So I think this is one King Soopers trying to get on the offensive because, of course, the strike went forward and that's the workers being on the offensive. And so King Soopers filed this the very next day. So this is certainly going to be part of the negotiations. Hey, we'll drop this lawsuit if, if certain concessions can be made. I don't know in traditional settlement, a lawsuit is, I think, more effective. Here, I'm not sure how much effect it will actually have on the strike, but we'll find out.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Do you think it will actually impact the strike?
You know, it might. I don't think the union is necessarily scared of this. And it's interesting, I read the complaint. It's only a 12-page complaint, and it's really straightforward. And they're saying, look, you're bargaining unfairly, union, and so all they're asking for is the cost of the lawsuit and the additional cost that the strike is costing them. So it wasn't super elaborate. So to the extent it actually moves the union, I don't know how much it will, but this is certainly a quiver in King Soopers' hat that they can use as leverage as they move forward.
This strike has really kind of gotten ugly because it's a lot of he said, she says. They're
Yeah.
doing this, that's not true, this whole thing. So does litigation make bargaining even more difficult than it's already been?
Yeah, I think it does. But I mean, here they're moving forward under the National Labor Relations Act, and there's certain things that you can and can't do as it relates to unions and strikes and that type of thing. And so everybody's trying to get as much leverage. And you're exactly right, because there was a class action lawsuit related to actions that King Soopers took in 2022. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. And this strike is only scheduled for 2 weeks, but the president of the union said recently that it could extend beyond this 2 weeks. So, I mean, this is the power of the unions. This is the purpose of a strike, is to leverage what people power that you have. And they're saying, hey, it's an unfair labor practice as opposed to an economic strike. And so they're saying we don't have enough workers. There's a staff shortage. They're even alleging that, look, we can't even change the prices because we don't have enough staff and enough time. And so some of the prices, even though they're advertised as one thing, they're not able to change them in the store, which is obviously hurting the consumer because we're paying more than we should.
Well, as a King Soopers customer,
Yes.
and this is scary to think that it could go on even longer than the 2 weeks that
Right.
they had originally talked about. Talk about how this isn't the only litigation as well that's relevant to this strike.
Right. So we know that with the Kroger and Albertsons merger that was trying to go through, which would be King Soopers and Safeway, that was denied. The Washington and Oregon case, the courts ruled against that, saying it was an antitrust violation. The Colorado case still hasn't been ruled on, and that was argued, I think, in late October, and that was Phil Weiser seeking $1 million in civil penalties, saying, hey, this was an antitrust violation. But as part of that, his allegation was that they violated a no-poach agreement. So in 2022, when King Soopers was striking, they entered into, the allegation is that they entered into an agreement with Safeway for Safeway not to hire those strikers, which is an antitrust violation, violates no poach and this type of thing. Well, the union has now, and there's a class action, the King Soopers workers have filed in November, just a couple months ago, saying, hey, this violated the no poach and we lost wages because you weren't hiring people from that strike. So that class action lawsuit is going forward as well. So that is, you know, throw that into the hopper in terms of all these moving parts. I think that one will still go forward regardless of what happens in this particular strike.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the reminder. I think there's so many people that were confused about what the strike was about. You know, oh, they're saying it's money, but it's not. It's unfair labor practices, and that's kind of what's at the center of this strike.
Yes.
That they're saying is only going to be 2 weeks, but I don't think any movement's really happening on either side at this point. Right. So we will see what happens with this.
Yeah,
Whitney.
I might be back.
I have a feeling you will be. Thank you.
All right.
Chris.